Welcome to the Mental Dietitian Podcast. I'm your host, Ahren Lynch-potter. I'm with my friend, Elim Ou. And on Instagram, she's Elim, what's her name? I first met Elim about 2 years ago, and she was this feisty little Asian girl at jiu-jitsu, and she would just go so hard and train so hard. And ever since then, I've got to know her a little bit better. If you are in the jiu-jitsu community at all on Instagram, you will know who she is. She has tens of millions of views on her content, and she achieved it in a relatively short period of time. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff today. We're going to talk about mental health. We're going to talk about her journey with jiu-jitsu. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of being a woman in doing jiu-jitsu. And we're also going to talk about what it's like blowing up on social media so fast and having really famous people within the community sharing her stuff. So, Elim, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good.
That's good.
Keep training for this, so lucky you. But we both got our morning training in. We talked about this before we started.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything's really good. How are you, Ahren?
I'm good. Lexi and I go to Italy on Saturday for 3 weeks, which is going to be pretty sweet. And I'm going to do some jiu-jitsu training there. I've already looked at, I look at where I'm staying and I'm like, and I type in BJJ and I'm like, I can't read any, and all the websites are shit. Like none of these people, like it's all in Italian. It's not user-friendly at all, but I'm going to train there. So that's what I'm doing. But this is not about me. I want to talk about you. I want to get deep with you today. Talk about some deep stuff if you're open to it.
I am open to it. We've had so many conversations before where we were just being casual and candid in our conversations, but I'm talking about my love life and stuff, and I can feel you slowly creeping in there with your mental dietitian bullshit on me. I could feel you doing it on me, and it was working.
I'm like, how did that make you feel? You're like, go away. I don't want to. So how do you feel? Well, where could we go from here? Okay. Tell me a little bit about you. So where did you grow up? What was your kind of teenage years like? And how did you get into jiu-jitsu?
So this is an interesting thing that I do actually find interesting about myself, because I was never supposed to be in martial arts. It's like I'm in the wrong timeline right now. I don't know if you've seen Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Not yet. I need to watch it though. I've heard it's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. Well, basically the premise is that there's an alpha universe, and then there's a bunch of random universes all around, and different timelines. I currently am in the wrong one. I'm doing social media influencer shit. I'm doing jujitsu and competing in it. It's really weird. But the way I grew up, I was never supposed to do weird shit like this. I was supposed to get a 9-to-5 job. I was supposed to be married by now. I'm supposed to start having kids soon, in this alpha timeline of mine. And I think I had a very traditional conservative childhood, and that's how I feel like I was never supposed to go on to do what I'm doing right now. I actually found jiu-jitsu through Taekwondo, which I actually found through the Classical Music Academy that I was learning how to sing at. So there was this school of music and dance, and I was there to learn classical voice. I had already been playing piano since I was 5 years old, bass guitar. I was an academic at the time, and then I just walked into this martial arts gym one day, and I was like, I kind of like it here. Let me try it. And this was Taekwondo, and this was more for recreational purposes. I didn't want to go anywhere with it. It was just a way to keep me physically active. And then through there, I found their jiu-jitsu classes, which they offered on the side. And then eventually, when I moved over to Burnaby City, then I joined GF Team, and then I was fully committed to jiu-jitsu at that time.
Wow. How old were you when you were starting Taekwondo, and how long did you do it before you started doing jiu-jitsu classes?
I think actually I first tried it when I was maybe 15-ish. So I would have been in high school. Yeah. And then I don't tell a lot of people this, but I did first put the gi on quite a few years ago. So I was probably around 16 at the time. I just couldn't get into it because at the time there were not a lot of women in this community yet who were like just everywhere. These days you go into like gyms in Vancouver, there's usually at least a couple women there, right? Back then it didn't feel like a place where I could belong. It was all like men in their early 20s and 30s. I was a teenage girl at the time. They didn't have kids classes at the time. It was just all adults, and I couldn't get into it until later. Like other women joined, and I was like, okay, I feel like I'm allowed to be here. I can do this now.
Yeah, it's so I have a similar story, as in I started jiu-jitsu when I was 17. I did it for 2 or 3 years. I got 3 stripes on my white belt, and then I took 9 years off because I had a major knee injury. And thinking back then, there was one girl, and it was our friend's, it was Corey's girlfriend. Her name was Ali. And that was the only girl that I ever saw until I went to a bigger city, and there was this brown belt that was about your size that destroyed me. And I was like, I was on steroids at the time. I was juiced up like 19-year-old. Yeah, it's true that 10 years ago, there wasn't as many women as there is in the sport now. So like, how old are you now? 25, 4?
Yeah, I'm 25 now. Yeah,
25.
I started actually training when I was like 19, 20-ish.
Yep.
Yeah, I would say 19. Yeah, that's when I really started.
What did you get out of jiu-jitsu when you first started it? Like I know a lot of people do it for fitness wise, but like I like talking about what it does for your what it does for your discipline, what it does to your self-image, like what it does for you mentally and emotionally, because it's so powerful. And it's sometimes you feel like you're in a cult because you try and communicate it with somebody and they're like, okay, dude, like you're rolling around in pajamas, getting sweaty with each other. And then some other dudes are like, yeah, rolling around with a bunch of dudes. I get that all the time.
Yeah.
So like, what did you get out of it emotionally? Like, yeah.
Well, when I was a teenager, just martial arts in general, it was a huge boost for my mental health. So through all of my teenage years, I was struggling with eating disorder at the time. And I found martial arts, and in martial arts, there's no time to think about what your body looks like. There's no time for that. Your brain is on fight or flight mode. You're getting killed. And so for those couple hours on the mats, like it was like a heaven to me because I was outside of that realm of self-hate. And just those 2 hours, I had to cherish it because, you know, just high on adrenaline, not having to think about my own body or what my body looks like, but rather thinking about what my body is actually capable of. That was so powerful to me and very, very addicting. And then jujitsu, I think because it seemed more practical and that I didn't want to worry about CTE in the future. So I stuck with jujitsu instead.
Yeah, I hate being punched in the face.
Yeah. I don't want to worry about CTE. I feel like I'm already going crazy. I don't want another extra variable that could do something up here.
I was going to ask you why you never went to MMA, but you just started it. You answered the question already.
Yeah, CTE. I'm scared of that, man. Aren't you?
Yeah, no thing. I did it. Okay, I went to MMA sparring 3 times, 2 or 3 times. And the very first time I rolled up late, and it was at Revolution. They do this pro sparring on Wednesday, and they invited me. And I was late, and the only person that didn't have a partner was Bibiano Fernandez, who's a 10-time 1FC bantamweight champion.
Yeah.
Like, literally one of the best bantamweights to ever do it. Fights at 145. And he walks around at probably like 160, 170. And he just beat the fuck out of me for like 5 minutes, like ground and pound. And he was about to fight John Lineker. He was probably like 2 months out from fighting John Lineker for the title in Asia. And he's much smaller than me, and I'm much physically stronger than him. And he just ground and pound my face with MMA sparring gloves on. And I was like, I hate this. Like, why am I here? Like, fuck this. Like, I hate this. So that's kind of, thanks, Bibi. That's why I'm not doing MMA, is because of you. So
that's true. I do find that there are probably less repercussions of having like a really grown, strong adult going hard on me than if this was like this was MMA setting. Because in jiu-jitsu, I can always just tap. right?
Mm.
I can also like vocalize that, I don't feel safe or anything, which I've never had to do, by the way. I feel very safe with all of my male trading partners. They've always had like great courtesy, great etiquette. They understand that, most of them outweigh me by what, 50 pounds? And the ones who are small enough, like around the 130, 140 range, they can give me a challenge. They're not afraid to hold back. I love that, rolling with a certain smaller guys, that they don't feel like they have to hold back, because I want hard spars.
Yeah. Yeah, like I've rolled with you a lot. You are a nightmare to roll with because you don't stop. Like you never
Oh.
ever stop. Like you never let somebody trap you in a position. I wanted to go back to something that you said though, and I think it's very interesting, is that, and I hope people listening to it heard what she said. She was like struggling with an eating disorder, and a lot of young women do, but
Mhm.
that it's like that 2 hours of training or however long it was gave you this, you basically were in the moment. You were no longer thinking about the future or the past. You were so in the moment, which literally feels like paradise. It's like meditative.
Yeah,
And a lot of people don't have that in their life. They just
that's true.
don't. Like they don't exercise.
Mhm.
They don't, maybe they play video games, but that doesn't give you that feeling. It kind of takes you somewhere else. You're not in your body at all. Anything that gets you in your body in the moment is
Mhm.
like medicine. It literally, like if I go a week without doing something with my body, even if it's just moving it or just like rolling around on the floor and like doing whatever, people live their entire life like that. Like, how important is that? Like, you probably see girls that come into the gym that you can probably see that have self-image issues, whether or not they're maybe overweight, or whether or not they're really small, or whether or not they've got bad skin, or whatever it may be. Like, how do you help them, and how can your story be an example to them? Like, what do you think when you see these women, and how important is it for people like that to do a martial art or to move their body from your perspective?
I empathize with women like that so greatly because, like I said before, like I struggled with it my entire teenage years and most of my early adulthood. And literally, what you said, it's like medicine. My therapist at the time said, there are things that can cure like mental illness, like depression, anxiety, that are things that I was also struggling with at the time. And they cited medicine, and all, Western medicine, and also exercise and therapy. These things all hand in hand are a superpower. But it is embarrassing how much exercise can trump the other two. It is so important for your body, and especially for women with eating disorder, doing martial arts where you're actually active with your body, it's actively trying to form a better relationship with your body. Instead of thinking about what it looks like, you're thinking about what it can do. And your body can do amazing things.
Yeah, it's a thing. Like, were you not eating at all? Like, were you throwing up your food? Like, what
Mhm.
was it for you?
So I had a binge purge type
Yeah.
eating disorder, and also a little bit of anorexia at the time. So this was before, but especially before martial arts, it would have been mostly anorexia. I would just calorie restrict and do a lot of cardio. I was still exercising at the time, just doing just fitness home workouts like a lot of teenage girls do.
Yeah.
And then I found martial arts, and then I realized my first week I had only eaten like a soup the entire day, and I almost fainted in one of those classes. And then I realized if I actually wanted to be productive with my mat time, I had to nourish my body. I have to feed it, or else what am I there for? I'm just wasting my mat time. So it also created a necessity for me to have to nourish myself with good food. And that did not change me still struggling with binge purge. It just solved my anorexia. It did not solve my binge purge. I think over the years and doing this mental health work, then I was able to overcome binge purge type eating disorder.
Do you know where it came from? Like that binge purge, like obviously you've probably done a lot of inner work, and you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, but like, what was that for you being a young woman, what was the mindset and what were you hoping to achieve? And like, where was that coming from within you at the time?
I talked about this with my counselors, and they were always trying to find what is your trigger. Because usually when there's a binge purge episode, it's because of a trigger. I never quite placed it, but I do know that it comes from a place of needing perfection
Mhm.
and needing uniformity. I come from a culture, East Asian culture, where skinniness is the health standard. It looks horribly unhealthy, this beauty standard that we have in like mainland China and also Taiwan, Japan, South Korea. But to them, that's a sign of a healthy, desirable woman. It's really insane. And I don't know if you're aware, for some young girls, they have thinspo. So they have pictures of like severely malnourished girls where you can see their ribs and bones, and they use that as motivation to starve themselves or purge themselves of those calories that they consumed. I was consuming that content at one point, because, Wild West of the internet, that's where I grew up. And also, I think I grew up in a very perfectionist household. I think they cited that as one of the main triggers for women to start developing eating disorders, that they usually come from very perfectionist households.
Yeah, it's like it's almost very controlling. It's like if I can just control everything, which
Yeah.
is impossible. We live in the world and it's like it's always changing, ever moving. We can never control it. But if we can, I've met people like this that like perfectionists. It's like it's based on control. Like if I can just control everything
Yeah.
or as much as I possibly can, then I can maybe get some level of safety within my life. Yeah, it's very interesting. I remember this girl that I went to school with. It was sad. It was really sad. And she told me she was open about it after she came on the other side of it. She was like, "Yeah, like I got so bad that the inside of her rectum started eating itself, and she needed to wear like a diaper. Like it was wild. Like it got.
Yeah.
She would eat one oat, like an oat a day, like with that, and then she would like split it in half sometimes.
My
And
God.
I get like, oh, it makes me really sad, like thinking about that and how many for women it's that, and for men it's like muscle steroids. Like
Yes.
it's where does it come from? Like I always talk about it in my podcast. It comes from the the great psychological pandemic of not feeling enough.
Yeah. Man, the eating disorder rate, or body dysmorphia for men, it's skyrocketed in the
Yeah.
last decade. It's so sad. I thought, this traditionally, this was mostly just women and also homosexual men
Yeah.
struggling with body dysmorphia and eating disorder. Now it's so much heterosexual men struggling with body dysmorphia, feeling like they're not big enough. And then they will just load themselves with all kinds of food, trying to get that mass. And to me, that's could be kind of like an eating disorder,
It is an
almost.
eating disorder. It's
Would you
100%
think
an eating
so?
disorder.
Yeah.
It's coming from a place like I'm not enough how I am. The world is
Mhm.
telling me I'm not enough how I am. The world is saying that this here is enough. So I'm
Yeah.
going to be that, whatever that is for people.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting. I want to talk about how you came out on the other side of that and how jujitsu and maybe being around a community that loved and supported you regardless of how you looked, because you're wearing a gi most of the time. They don't care
Exactly.
if you're fat or skinny or tall or
Exactly.
short, it doesn't matter. Like, how was that powerful for you? And yeah, I want to speak about that because a lot of people, when I talk about jujitsu, they don't understand how beautiful the community is, especially people like Raphael, who's the owner of GFT, and he's just such a beautiful human being and created such an amazing environment. How how was that for you? And try and speak about coming out on the other side of that. I don't know if you're on the other side of that completely. I don't know, but
I
yeah,
would
talk
say
about it a
so.
little bit more.
I would say I've been recovered for a couple years now. Like I'm very happy to say that. I'm pretty proud of myself actually. I did the work. I stuck with jujitsu, and I can proudly say that I've been in remission. for a couple years. Obviously, I still have moments of weakness or like moments of self-hate, just as much as any other woman faces, right? That's never gonna go away. It's just it's gonna be an ongoing journey. I understand that. But with jujitsu, well, these mental illnesses, it's basically you were delusional. You have been brainwashed, right, into hating yourself. And just these accumulative years of jujitsu and not thinking about what my body looks like anymore, taking that focus off of that brainwashed me into a new mindset. Whereas I'm focused on being a better athlete. I'm focused, if I'm weight cutting, I'm focused on the optimal nutrition that I can get and while still being able to train hard. And yeah, I don't know how it is a mystery sometimes how I was able to get out of it. I always think I got lucky because there's so many women who, after years of going to the gym or doing their activity, they still struggle with this. So I don't know what happens with me. I think I got really lucky. I also have a very supportive community. I think having more guy friends actually weirdly helped with my self-image, like the non-toxic ones, right? They don't see me as a woman per se, or a woman who has to look a certain way. They see me as a teammate. And I found that very valuable, very wholesome. I really like that. And I think the friends that I've made along the way, women and men, they really helped me with this. I owe a lot to the people in along this journey, especially Hafa. He's given me so much opportunity in jiu-jitsu. I think he's such a father figure.
He
He's
is.
he's a dad to everyone.
He is a
It's so
dad.
nice.
Yeah, he is. Like when he gives you a hug and when he just like puts his arm around you, he's got that
Yeah.
fatherly energy, which is like do you know what he does? Is he makes you feel safe.
Yeah.
That's what
Oh.
it is. Like if we could sum it up, he provides safety. And
Mhm.
yeah, that's what he does. You feel safe around him. Sometimes you just meet people and you're like, I feel safe around you.
Yeah.
That's my goal. Like my goal is to be that kind of man. But for
Yeah.
me to eventually achieve that is I have to feel safe around myself.
Mm.
And people like him, they've been through things. That's why they can feel others around them feel safe around them because they feel safe within themselves. It's very interesting. Like he's obviously been through things. He's a
Mm.
black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Most black belts I've met, they have an energy to them. Most, not all of them, but most of them have this energy, which is, I don't know, it's like quiet confidence.
Yes. Oh, that's true.
Hmm.
Quiet confidence. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Most
a
of
lot
them.
of
I've
people.
met a few cocky ones, but yeah. Quiet confidence. I like how you
Yeah,
described
he is. He's got quiet confidence. He doesn't need to tell everybody he's a black belt. It's like we already know. Like
Yeah.
we know
I've
you
met
could
them
kill
and
us.
I'm happy about it. Yeah.
I want to talk about as well with you being a woman doing jiu-jitsu. You mentioned something about being a teammate. And I have friends that are not in jiu-jitsu community. Like, did you ever roll with like hot girls? Like, is it awkward? And I'm like, no, like it's actually not. Like I've never, like as a man, men are very sexually focused. It's just like a lot, it's something that a lot of men have and a lot of men struggle with.
Mhm.
I've found on the jiu-jitsu mats, I've never thought about it, not once. And I think it's because you're doing an activity and
Yeah.
you're in an environment where it's a teammate. And it's very interesting. It's something that I've noticed a lot of people have a hard time with that don't
Yeah.
understand jiu-jitsu when they see a man
Yeah.
and a woman rolling.
Yeah.
Um,
I think I don't know the actual science behind it, but I'm like 99% sure this must activate a different part of your brain when you're actively trying to do a physical activity that you need to use your brain power for. And in jujitsu,
yeah.
you need to use your brain power for whatever technique you're doing. I don't know. You're the man. You can tell me what it's actually
Yeah,
like.
I think you're right. It's like it activates like a fighting mechanism, and I don't think it's the same thing as the sexual mechanism. And that's what's so
Yeah.
beautiful
Okay.
about the jiu-jitsu community is that there's men and women that can be in very close proximity. Like it's actually very intimate if you think about it. If you look back, it's a very intimate thing you're doing with somebody. And every competition I've ever been with, every time I'm with somebody and I compete against them, I have a bond with them. every time. And I'm sure you could say the same way. There's some kind of connection you have, even if you met them once, because you're trying to snap each other's limbs.
Yeah.
Like you are. And you create that bond with another human being. And it's, I don't know, it's special. It's really special. And yeah, like I would like to talk about maybe the being a woman in the jiu-jitsu community. We talked about the positive kind of side of things. Like,
Yeah.
have you ever had any experiences where you don't feel safe, or that there's some kind of like you get that woman intuition where you're like, I don't like this?
Like, have I had serious red flags? I'm gonna be honest, personally, no. But you know, that 1 in 4 statistic that people always cite for women and sexual abuse. Um, every woman has at least had one friend who's gone through something like that, right?
Yeah.
Which is really sad and gross because this community is supposed to be, it's supposed to be encouraging women to be able to defend themselves, yet we have people abusing their power and sleeping with minors, and it's very icky. uh yeah, I've heard a lot of these cases, especially because I'm on social media a lot. A lot of these women feel comfortable telling me about things that go on in their gym, and some of this shit gets dark, bro. I need
I've
to
seen it.
close my phone and just put on my happy lamp for like a few 30 minutes just to cleanse myself of the debauchery that happens in the martial arts communities. But I'm very happy to say I've personally never felt unsafe. I felt annoyed though sometimes, like when you know, as much as any person gets annoyed when they're just interacting with the human population. Like for example, like when people, ooh, one of my pet peeves is when I hear a man complain about their wife. I don't like that for some reason. It triggers me. I don't like when people talk bad about their wives. That's all.
I know why it triggers you, and I've learned about it, is that your relationship should be a safe container, right,
Mhm.
between you and that person. And every time you complain or share anything outside of that container that you have
Mhm.
with somebody on the outside, you're breaking the trust that's in the container.
Yeah. So I feel I probably interpret that as them kind of breaking trust within their marriage.
They are. They're
And
like
yeah,
totally what they're doing. It's like, how fucking dare you? Like, have you had this conversation with her, and does she know you're talking about this?
probably, yeah. It sounds like in the conversations I've overheard, it's probably something that they have talked about before. And
But
then
does
they're just
she know that you are sharing it with people on the fucking mat at jiu-jitsu? I don't think
probably
she'd want
not,
that.
right?
No.
But it's usually man to man, these conversations that I'm just overhearing.
Mm.
They feel like they're in a safe space with each other to share whatever marriage problems that they're going through right now, which is valid. Like everyone gets annoyed with their partners sometimes, but to talk bad about them, that's something else. I don't like it.
Yeah, fair enough. And it's, yeah, here's the crazy thing. I used to be a serial whatever that is, and I had no idea how much damage it did in the relationship. Like I would share things with my friends
Okay.
about Lexi
Hmm.
that if she knew I was sharing it, she wouldn't feel comfortable because she doesn't know and trust that person.
Right. Exactly.
And it wasn't till probably about a year ago where I had somebody very gently, thank God,
Hmm.
like when Lexi was there, explain it to me, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And she's like, "Do you see how much damage you're doing to the relationship? Where she's not even worried about if she shares something with you that is personally bothering her. She is now worrying about how many people is she sharing it with, just you, or is she
Yeah.
sharing it with you and all your boys?"
Yeah. I understand men do need some sort of talk therapy or
They
outlet. And I
do.
think it has to, it's good, it's great in the jujitsu community where they have camaraderie with each other and they have brotherhood. But of
Yep.
course, there is a fine line, right?
The way around it is to have somebody that you're like, "Hey, Lexi, do you trust Bob? We know Bob.
Hmm.
Do you mind if I talk to Bob about this thing that we're dealing with?" Yeah, go
Yeah.
for it. That's literally the way around it. Like Yeah, I didn't understand that breaking the trust of the container. You can do it with friendships too.
Yeah.
Like if you and I have a problem with each other and I go to Lexi, like Elin's really pissing me off. She's really annoying me. If she was a good friend, she'd be like, before you tell me how annoyed you are with Elim, have you planned a time to tell Elim that?
Yeah.
And if not, don't talk to me about it, because it's like there's strings, right? If I have a string between you and I, and there's like a little bit of vibration, a little bit of ickiness, we got some shit going on. Me doing the string with like Vinny, for example, I'd be like, oh, Elim's really annoying me. That string is not attached to you at all. So what is me talking to anybody else going to do about this issue?
Most likely you're just looking for affirmation.
Yeah, I'm looking them for take my side. So when I do have that conversation, well, I was talking to so-and-so about this, and then now you've damaged the trust in the relationship. And people don't know this. People do it everywhere. It's crazy. Everywhere. I see it everywhere.
I understand though. Some people just want their frustrations to just be heard before they deal with the problem. They want to vent. They want to just express frustration. But yeah, the more mature thing, obviously, would to be actually talking to the person before talking shit about them.
But let's be honest, most people are not mature, and that's okay. And who am I to judge? I'm not judging anybody. It's just I learned that the hard way because I did it for 28 years of my life. I did it all the time.
I think it's good, like if you do have like a best friend, a designated friend to hear you out on these problems. That way, it's probably maybe Lexi would feel more contained with this situation and with your frustrations.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it just stems down to most people don't know how to communicate.
That's very true.
And I was like thinking about this recently. I was like there's all these different emotions that people can feel, right? Like and they're all natural, and none of them are to be ashamed of. And a lot of people, especially men, they're ashamed of like feeling sad and crying. Apparently that's weak. I used to think that for years. I used to think being angry was weak, but if you take a step back on it, they're all like natural human emotions, are part of being a human being. Like that it's like you're a human, you're supposed to laugh, cry, be angry sometimes. You're supposed to feel these things, because otherwise, why the fuck would you have them?
That's so interesting, because I always feel like for men, they let themselves feel anger out of all the emotions. I guess that's where toxic masculinity comes from. But they won't let themselves feel sad. And like they are really limiting themselves in the broad range of emotions that humanity has to offer.
They're not being a human.
Yeah. You gotta let yourself
I was thinking
feel sad.
My point was like women will cry often, they'll laugh, they'll do all the things, and they usually have women to talk to.
Yes,
somewhere.
There's a good support system for women.
Exactly.
But for men, not always the case. But that's where jiu-jitsu comes in.
That's what I was thinking. Like when you were saying that, this guy talking about his wife, he might not fucking have anybody at all. So you can kind of look at it with compassion and be like, that guy might not have anybody to talk about this stuff to. He probably doesn't have a therapist. He probably thinks it's weak. And it's interesting that there's all these different perspectives we can look at things.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it was just a small pet peeve. Like it's not something that angers me. Like nothing, to be honest, nothing about men in jiu-jitsu really angers me or pisses me off, except for the sexual abuse that goes on. Occasionally, like just certain personalities being, less than affirming of mental health and real issues that are going on in our community.
Well, the good thing is that we're talking about it. Good thing is you talk about it, you share it on social media, which is really cool. And that's like, I was thinking about before I did this podcast, I was like, think about like, even in this podcast, like thinking about all the things you went through and you've dealt with things. Now you have a platform where you can actually bring attention to it. It's like your trauma that you dealt with growing up, feeling controlled. And I know people who have Asian parents, and it's like you're either a doctor or a lawyer or or an abortion. Like holy fuck.
I'm an engineer, but yes.
Yeah, anything like that. And if you want to be a jiu-jitsu social media influencer, which I'm sure you never planned ever. And it's just like here, and you're just being you. That's like, that's all you're doing. And it's blowing up and you're making money from it.
Occasionally.
Anything is crazy. Like, even if you made $10 a month, you're like, if I can make $10 a month, why couldn't I make $50 a month? And if I can make $50 a month, why can't I make 500? If I can make 500, why can't I make 5,000? Because it's literally just about making $1. And if you double it to $2, why couldn't you double 1,000 to 2,000? Like, why not? Like, it literally is like, you can't even tell me, like, why not? You're like, oh, I guess it's logical.
Well, I will say, in the jiu-jitsu with jiu-jitsu brands, they are limited in the money that they can give out. It's because it's such a niche sport. If I were to go probably into like the fitness community, I'd probably be able to have a higher threshold of what I'm able to make through social media. But with jiu-jitsu, I'm kind of surprised I was able to do anything at all with this, because I'm just a girl with a phone.
That's what's so cool. And I wanted to talk about that. Like, you went, tell us a story. Like, how many followers did you have before you posted that Vinny video where he's walking to the gym and it's like, you're bitches?
I think, I don't know exactly how many, but I think I had probably racked up around 2,000 before that video. Before I started doing social media, I think it would have been last year around April-ish, June-ish, where I started like getting down on that. And I started my personal account, Elim What's Her Name, probably was around 1,000 followers. Yep. That's it.
Now,
and then after,
how many now?
I am at 85,000.
That's crazy. In a
year. I know, right? Social media, like just being able to work with the algorithms and just learning these tips and tricks to navigate the social media world, I think it really does a lot. I actually came from a TikTok background, so before I did Instagram, I did do TikTok, where I amassed from 0 to 50,000 within 1.5 years. So I think I just transferred some of that knowledge over to Instagram into a very, very niche world, jiu-jitsu. And I don't know, people enjoyed it.
I enjoy it, especially that one you did recently. That was crazy. Which
one?
Give me a second to put my light on so I can see.
Yeah.
The one where you're talking about kids in Surrey.
Oh my God. I'm scared for that one, to be honest, because
I was scared too. I watched it and I was like, oh, like, because I laughed and then I thought, Will Huffer get angry at her? Will Huffer get angry? Because I know him and he's a Christian man, and he was like, Elim, we cannot talk about killing the children.
But also, he's from Rio.
Yeah, fair enough. It's
he also does have a pretty good sense of humor. I talked to Dennis about it before, I think before posting, or like right after. It's like, hey, let me know if I need to take this down, if you guys are getting too much hate from the from your marketing side. And he was like, no, it's hilarious. Like, he has his own kids in the GFT kids program, right? And he thought it was okay. So I was like, all right.
Then so it's got 10 million views.
That one?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't. No, I didn't check.
I looked at it before. It's got 9.5 or something, and I was like, holy shit.
Ooh. Wow. Oh, okay.
That one with Vinny has like 23 or 24. Yeah. The population of Canada watched those 2 videos.
Yeah, that's really weird. Yeah. But I think a lot of people are mistaken about what like social media fame is, because some people will like joke, I'm a celebrity, and I don't know how much they're actually joking, because in the grand scheme of things, this is a niche sport, right? I think there are Instagram cats with more followers than Gordon Ryan. So, yeah.
Yeah.
You are a little bit frozen.
I'm very frozen. I can see it. Can you hear me though? Oh, there we go.
I can. Yeah, we're back. Yeah,
now it's zoomed in for some reason. But yeah, I was going to say that you did mention that obviously it's a niche sport, but there's people like Gordon Ryan who are expanding the sport.
Yes.
And he makes millions of dollars a year with jiu-jitsu.
Mhm.
And this is something you could do full time. Like you could do it full time. Like, what's your best month, if you don't mind me asking, like financially with this social media thing? What's the best month you've had financially, and how much was it?
This month, I think through tips, which I'm going to be honest, I don't think I would have made if I was a man.
Oh,
Because
wow.
yeah, exactly. But who am I? Who am I to reject free money? Um, through commission sales, through tips, it's probably around, oh, and also other gigs that I've managed to get through social media. It's probably around 800.
That's pretty cool. From
Yeah.
going from zero to making 800 bucks a month. That's what I'm saying. Like, if somebody can go from zero, making $0 on social media to 800, why couldn't you go from 800 to 8,000?
There are limitations on a niche sport, I'm telling you though.
But there's people
I think
following
there
you
are
that
less
probably don't
limitations.
do jujitsu.
Hmm?
Look at you look at you like putting yourself down. Like, eh.
No, I do have to try to be realistic. I think, yeah, from a marketing perspective, I have been trying to delve into this world of digital marketing. I really think that jujitsu, it's not a great money maker. But with this sport expanding, like, and with people taking it to like the international stage, I do expect it to continue expanding. It's just that jiu-jitsu brands usually do not have as much money to offer as other hobbies and fields.
And who knows where this could take you. You never know. Like,
That's true. Yeah.
when you
Who
were
knows?
learning piano, there's no way that you could have 10 years, 15 years later been like, looked at you now and been like, I'm going to be doing that. Not a
Yeah, it's
chance.
really weird. I wish I could talk to my former self to be like, do you think I'm cool? I would like to know if former me would have thought I'm cool because
You could,
I'm usually trying to impress myself.
yeah, like, and have you done that? Like, I know I've in the conversations in the past, I think there's a part of you that doesn't think that you deserve it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you nailed it. Well, because like I said before, just a girl with a phone. A lot of the times, I feel like anyone else could be doing what I do. It's not too difficult once you know all the tips and tricks to it and you spend the time that I spend into it. I think anyone else could do what I do.
But they don't.
Yeah, for whatever reasons, they don't.
But they don't. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's true. Like, that technically that's true. Like, anybody can do anything, but they don't. And like, what is the thing within people that, like, if you could look at it, like, what is the thing that got you to purple belt? And what is the thing that is going to get you to black belt? And what is the thing that got you from 2,000 followers to 85,000 followers right now in a year? Who knows where it'll be, and got you tens of millions of views? Like, what is that thing?
I think just dedication, passion, and also addiction.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Your social media, it's very addicting, I will tell you that. You know what? As someone who struggles with mental health, being a content creator, probably the worst thing you can do. this
Holy
this
fuck.
thing is predicated on people liking you.
It's,
That's
it's
horrible for
it's
your mental health.
predicated on validation in a way.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that
Or-
yeah, I've never thought about that.
But it also can be very therapeutic as if you're like a small content creator and you just do it. Just post. Do it. Don't care about what other people think about it. You're not there for the validation. You're there because you are a creative and you feel like you have something to express and you have something to offer.
Yeah, it's like you have these two parts of you, and I have similar parts where it's like you don't think you deserve it, but then you also just said that you know you have something to offer and you know you have something to put out there. And then
Yeah,
those two parts of us fight with each other.
there's a dissonance in there. For
Yeah.
me, I think the reason why I felt passionate about just posting really short, funny videos is that I do like expressing myself through humor. And you know, wanting to put a smile on other people's faces. As a former people pleaser, I feel like I've just weaved myself into a different venue of people pleasing in the form of
Like, as a former people pleaser, then goes to figure out that you're currently still doing it. Like,
yeah.
I'm the same way. I used to. I've come to this. I don't know if you heard my last episode, but it was talking about the concept that you can't make people feel anything. And I used to have this fear that I would make people feel uncomfortable. And anytime somebody says, "Oh, you made me angry," it's like, no, you made you angry. Nobody can make you feel shit. Are you
Right.
that small within yourself that you give all your power to somebody else to make you feel something? No, you felt that within yourself. So I used to not do things, being a people pleaser, and I even still battle with it now. Like, I don't post on social media as much as I should because there's a part of me that's like, I have lots of value to add. I know there's stuff that I say and I get a lot of feedback from people that it's good and they get value from it. There's the other side of me, it's like, well, what would those people think about you? And that's why I really admire you, because you, like, I've seen the struggles you've gone through. I've seen how much you beat yourself up. You're a recovering perfectionist, but that thing is you've done it anyway. And you've gone past those voices at the start where like, you can't do this. Like, this is a niche sport. This is small. This is stupid. And you've just beaten those voices and you've been like, fuck it, I'm just going to do it anyway. And the world has been like, hey, it's literally shown you, the world has shown you, like, if you're just yourself and you be true to yourself, here's what happens. It literally has all the evidence in the world in 1 year.
That is true. Yeah. You know, those voices do still manifest in real, actual hate comments, though. That is something to be mindful of. There are, like, there's a lot of
Yeah.
comments there, but there's also a lot of hate because it's the internet. Of
They're
course,
just projecting. They're just projecting all their fears on you. Like, it's funny. We did this. I want to tell you about this because it comes to mind. I went to this like men's weekend, and there was 15 men there, right? And we're all talking about our feelings, and we get deep. And one of the exercises, it was very uncomfortable for all of us. Was we were sitting around a room, and the facilitators put on a song, and like, one at a time, you're going to stand up and you're going to dance however you want to dance in front of these 15 men. And after you are done, we're going to go around the room, and we're not going to ask these men what they think about you. We're going to ask them how watching them created a feeling within you. It was very interesting. And it's like, I felt judgment. I felt proud. And what it is, it's like, that person didn't make me feel anything. I felt that within myself. That's what happens on the internet. These people are spewing hate at you because you are winning. Cool. Nobody who's doing better than you would ever put hate on you. Only people that are doing worse than you, because it's bringing up a feeling within themselves, right? They are feeling a feeling which is coming up within themselves because of watching something that you did. They don't know who the fuck you are.
Yeah, that's true. They don't.
They have no idea. So it's their issue. And that was an exercise we did. And I would watch these men dance, and some of them were really awkward and weird. And I was sitting there, I felt so uncomfortable. I felt so judgmental. And I'm like, this feeling has nothing to do with him. It's actually me. And I'm the one sitting here struggling with it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. If people could just understand that concept of like, nobody can make you feel anything. Think about how much better relationships would be. That's
true. A lot of those hate voices, though, they are in accordance with what I've been telling myself throughout the years. Yeah, so they are able to bring something up in me that I've always struggled with. So I'm making them feel, not making them feel a certain way, but I'm giving them something, giving them material so that they feel a certain way. And in turn, they write something really mean and hateful. And then in turn, I start feeling a certain way. And I need to really work on that. I did talk to my therapist recently about social media and its effects on mental health, that she suggested that I need to start being able to contain the hours, because I cannot control the internet. No one can.
No.
I can't contain the hours that I spend on it, though.
You can just post and leave it. Post, boom. Post, boom. Post. Look at a few comments. Like, I heard Joe Rogan talk about this. Like, there's nothing in the human brain that prepared you for millions of people to follow you. Like, people like imagine being like Dwayne The Rock Johnson or something like that. Just like, there's nothing in human evolution that can prepare our brain for that. It's extremely overwhelming. Even 85,000 people. If you put 85,000 people in a fucking parking lot, and you went around and asked each one of them what they think about you, well, fuck that.
Yeah, fuck that.
Fuck that. And there's nothing in our evolution that's not natural at all. So it's like, how do you navigate it?
I don't think I could ever actually be a famous person because I would get canceled so fast. I don't know how actual famous people do this. Like, I have less than 100K followers on Instagram now. So I actually still consider that kind of a little bit of like a micro influencer. And for me to already start breaking a little bit because of just a tiny portion of hate that I get is unfathomable when I think about how much hate actual famous people could get.
They're so damaged. Like, you look at like, they're so fucked up, and like this is a whole other subject. I can talk about it for hours. Like, highly traumatized people with massive amounts of trauma are running the world.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Like,
I know what you're talking about.
Look at, like, for example, look at Leonardo DiCaprio, for example. All the jokes about him, like, but if you step back at it and imagine like a psychologist or a counselor being like, you're scared of dying, aren't you?
You think that's what it is?
There's a part of it there. There's a part of it. Yeah, there's something there. There's something going on. I find this stuff fascinating. That's why I call this the mental dietitian. Like, what is people's mental diet, and where does their mental diet even come from? And like, why do people do the things that they do? Like, I just find it fascinating. And that's why I really wanted you on the podcast, because you've gone through things and you've achieved great things. And it doesn't mean that you're this amazing, proud of yourself person. And there's days of it. There's just, we all struggle. We all go through shit. We all have shitty days. And the whole world is like that too. Like, look at Vancouver. It's a beautiful day today. I'm watching the sunset right now. It's beautiful. But in 3 or 4 days from now, it'll be raining again. So for people to think that what's going on in their mind and with their emotions in their life is going to be different than the fucking weather is stupid. Like, you're going to have shitty days.
You know what? So much mental illness here in Vancouver City. I think it's lack of sun, personally.
Yeah, definitely has an aspect to it, like, for sure.
That's why I have my happy lamp here.
Is that actually like a UV lamp?
Yeah. It's for seasonal affective disorder. I got recommended by my doctor to just get one from Amazon, and I feel like it does a little bit of something. I think so. Yeah.
Whether or not it's placebo or real, who cares?
Right, exactly, right? If it is a placebo, it's a good placebo.
Yeah.
But yeah, now you know, me content creating is probably an extension of my former people-pleasing self.
I've found that most people, like, for me, I was obsessed with money for years, and it came from me growing up, seeing my parents fight about money all the time, ended up divorcing about money. So little version of Ahren, because we have these little versions of ourselves inside us. So you said, I wish I could go back and talk to her. You can. It's called inner child work. You can. It's pretty intense when you first do it. You're like, oh, it's fucking weird. You're like this 25-year-old, and you're like, I can't fucking talk to my younger self. And you get maybe in a place, whether it's through meditation, or I've done it through psychedelics, you can do it through counseling or whatever, and you ask a question. I did it through breath work once, where I was like, we were heavily breathing. I don't know if you've ever done this, like meditative breath work where you're almost hyperventilating. And I was like, this is so weird. Like, I started feeling tingling in my hands.
Oh, really? Okay, no, I haven't done that
tingling in my head, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, you can have repressed emotions and your trauma can come up. I'm like, this is weird. Nothing's happening. And all of a sudden,
that's lack of oxygen.
Yeah, but all of a sudden I look at this younger version of myself. I'm like in this space, in this room. And he looks at me, he's like, why do you hate me? I was like, and I started fucking crying. I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what the fuck is going on? And yeah, I realized that I spent a lot of my time, I was a very sensitive young man. I was till about 12, 13. But when boys are 12, 13 years old, it's no longer okay to be sensitive. You have to be a man. You have to fight now. And you can't play music anymore. You can't grow flowers. You can't do any of that. So I basically hated that part of me until I was about 27, 28. And it came up then. So that's what I'm saying. Like, there's these younger parts of us that get stuck. And there's like, I've found that these traumatic things, they're like a vine. So for you, like this vine, the fruit of the vine is what you're experiencing now. Like your trauma, growing up in a controlling environment, having these eating disorders and wanting to go a certain path has actually led you to this place where it's like, if you look back on it, you're like, holy fuck.
I know.
It's all from that. And it's like beautiful and sad at the same time. It's very interesting.
Beautiful and sad, but it's also an outlet for me to actually combat my former child self and the self-hate that I grew up with, because now my new goal
beautiful. It's so beautiful.
is to not give a fuck.
Yep.
And I like that. I kind of like not having to give a fuck anymore. I love to be imperfect. It's so nice. I like to be, I think people relate to my content because I'm very average. I'm nothing special. And they relate to that, just being not special. I like that.
But that makes you special. That's the funny thing. That's the oxymoron of it all. It's like, hey, I'm not special, but like, look at what somebody who's not special can do.
Yeah. You know, I think one of, I never really told people the story of why my Instagram handle came to be, but it's what's her name? Because I'm kind of your average nobody. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. And I think I can still be a special and a unique person in my own way, being a nobody. I think being a nobody is so comforting in this universe. It's so vast. Just being a nobody, you get to do your own thing.
Everybody's trying to be a somebody, but except being themselves.
Oh yeah, you know what?
I mean? Like everybody's trying to be like, oh, if I would just be like this more, then maybe people would love me, or maybe people would like me, or people think I'm good enough. It's like, you said something like, it feels so good being imperfect. Like when you say that, how does that make you feel?
So much more relaxed and at peace, because for years I had to be the most perfect child or perfect woman ever. And this was basically brought on by my own self, maybe by external factors as well. With the culture and academic culture I grew up with, I felt like I had to be that. But to finally let all that go and realize I can just be my motherfucking self and not give a fuck and be imperfect. I get to have a beer, drink a beer, not worry about my body, what my body looks like. I get to enjoy life as a fucking human. That's nice. Being able to do human things and not having to worry about hating myself so much.
That's what true freedom is. Freedom is that. It's not in how much money you make. It's not in how you look. It's not in what belt you are in jiu-jitsu. It's not in who you date, what designer clothes you wear. You just described it. It's finding that place within yourself. That's what freedom is. And if it comes and goes, like you feel that state, you're like, ah, fuck yeah, it's here. Then all of a sudden you're like, ah, my fuck.
Exactly.
Like you have days, but it's like, yeah, like as I get older, I just want more peace. I'm sure you want more peace too.
Yeah, I have a lot of bad days, but you know what? Overall, it's been a peaceful life now that I've learned to just let go of needing to be perfect.
Yeah,
and needing to be liked by everyone. But you know what? I think that's an age thing as well. The older you get, the less you give a fuck about what other people think about you.
My mum told me that. My mum turns 60 next year, and she said, as you get older, you stop worrying about what people think because you realize that they were never thinking about you anyway. They were thinking about
Interesting.
themselves the whole time. Like,
That's true.
like people are so
And
worried
even
about
if
what other
they
people
don't
think.
like you, even if people don't like you, so what? It's not like we like everybody anyways. So it's really not an attack on you when somebody doesn't like you. Like there are plenty of people that probably don't like me and they don't vocalize it, and that's also completely fine. That's not an attack on me. It's just sometimes people's vibes are different, and you don't gotta fuck with everybody. I don't fuck with everybody. I get along with most people. I'm respectful with most people. I don't fuck with everybody though.
No,
Mm.
you don't have to. I've
No.
found as I gotten older,
Hmm.
things I don't like about other people, if I meet somebody I don't like them, it's something that I don't like about myself.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's not even them because I don't know them.
But what if they're like an actual total dick though?
There are a
Like
few
they're
people I met, and it goes back to why am I feeling this? And why is this person bringing up these feelings within me? And why am I giving that person power over my internal landscape?
hmm
It's like, well, if this person's an asshole, I've got two options. I can say something or I can just remove myself from the situation. And like you said, like I'm not going to hang around people like that. If somebody's
hmm
just like misogynistic fucking asshole, I
hmm
don't I don't like being around that. Or somebody who's like super homophobic or racist or anything like that. It's just they're just spewing out hate. You know, people like that is just I look at them with compassion now. I'm like, sucks to be you, dude. Like,
Yeah, you're
what a
missing out.
all this hate that you're spewing can't even probably come close to the hate that you probably feel towards yourself.
hmm You can remove yourself, but it also is just a sad sight to see sometimes. Like like what you said about misogyny. Sometimes that misogyny, they get into a position of power. They're actually able to abuse that power with misogynistic intent behind it. And so that definitely makes me feel alarmed and makes me feel upset for the other women that, or just women in general, who might have a bad time, because as we've known, there have been a few women in our community that have had a bad time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was a white belt when I started digging into this, like with the Lloyd Irvin case, which is very public, is all out there. And delving into that, I felt so saddened as a woman that I came into a sport to feel empowered, but some of the misogyny that goes on makes me feel so disempowered. And I don't know what to do about that sometimes, but just brush it off and chalk it up to just men being men, which is a very grim outlook on men, because men are great. I think men are great, but
That's
some.
not a man being a man. That's an unhealthy man that has not done any work on themselves, that
Mhm.
thinks that they can act that way because there's something inside them that's, I'm going to say broken, but it's like not healed. Like
Okay.
I had this crazy vision once when I was did mushrooms, right? I don't know
Okay.
if you've ever,
Right.
I talk about this all the time.
Yeah,
I talk about
I know.
psychedelics all the time
Yeah, I know.
because they're powerful, they're amazing teachers, and they teach you amazing things. And it showed me this man beating this woman in this
Mhm.
vision. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, okay.
And then it went inside his chest and he was beating this. It was a little version of him beating up a little girl version of him.
Oh,
And I
interesting.
saw it, and the mushrooms were like, do you understand? I was like, that all domestic violence is just because they're ashamed of the feminine side of themselves.
Mhm.
And that men, like it's all through our culture, like men tell stories, like, you know, the story of the damsel in distress and how the men always want to, it's in Disney movies, they want to save the woman in the tower.
Mhm.
What if the woman in the tower is within your own psyche and you have to go save her within yourself?
Oh, interesting. I
It
kind of
showed me
like
that.
that.
And it's just like, do you see how you're ashamed of being feminine? You used to love growing plants, you used to love playing music.
Hmm.
They are more feminine things, but there's nothing wrong with them. But growing up, I used to look at it that it was lesser than, that I am better than that. It's not okay to do
Mm.
that, which creates shame around women.
Yes.
And feminine.
They just hate the feminine. Yeah.
Exactly. I was ashamed around it. And then it showed me that within myself of this man being this woman. I just saw domestic violence. I'm like, he's just externalizing what's going on within himself.
Mm-hmm.
And because he doesn't know what to do and he doesn't know how to deal with it, he just sees a woman, whether or not it's his wife or his sister or whatever, usually his wife, and he acts out on that, and he doesn't understand that it's an externalization of what's going on inside him.
That's very interesting.
It's fucking wild.
Yeah, that is wild.
And then it started going to like all these world leaders. I started seeing like the president of China. I started seeing Donald Trump. I started seeing Putin. I started seeing all these different world leaders, and they were all standing on this bank of this river.
Okay.
There's all these women standing on this bank of this other river, and then they were putting out their hands like this to meet like this at the top of this riverbank. And it's like the healing of the world won't start until men stop being ashamed of the feminine side of themselves. And there's all these men running the world that are not feminine at all. And to be feminine is not weak. In fact, if you combine strong masculinity with powerful femininity, fucking look out.
Yeah. Okay.
I literally got that from that, and I came out on the other side of it. I was like, holy fuck. What am I supposed to do with that information?
You know, a lot of this is cultural though, because in North America, we have a very set standard of what masculinity should look like. And it's also different amongst social classes. Masculinity in the upper class looks different from masculinity in the lower class.
Yeah.
So I feel like if men understand that that masculinity is very fragile and it's very malleable, it's a social construct. I feel like they feel better about themselves. I feel like they'd be more comfortable being able to delve into their other interests, aspects that might be a little bit deemed more feminine. I do feel so bad for men in that women, we have not been taught that masculinity or male interests are bad. I've always been free to explore the martial arts world, like with a little bit of, side eye from my mother.
There's an aspect of that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, like I did get a little bit of flack from my mom in the beginning because I was a woman doing martial arts and rolling around with sweaty men. But in general, in North America, it feels like it's encouraged for women to delve into male interests like martial arts, for example, or to get an education or to earn their own money. These things are encouraged. We get to wear pants, but it's not the inverse for men. They don't get to wear dresses, or they suffer different social consequences if they do delve into the feminine. I feel like that's so sad because they don't have as many options as us women now. Us women,
it is interesting. It feels like it's swinging back the other way when I heard Aubrey Marcus. I don't know if you know who Aubrey Marcus is.
Not familiar.
He owns a company called On It. He's a really interesting guy. He talks a lot about psychedelics. He talks about a lot of stuff. He's a really cool guy. But he said with this, like, just because there's maybe more feminine coming out, it doesn't mean that masculine is doing this. It doesn't have to do that. A lot of men think that if I start talking about my feelings, a lot of men equate talking about their feelings with being feminine. It's like, no, that's being a fucking human, bro.
Yeah.
like really? It's not being feminine. It's not weak. It's being a human, and you have them for a reason. Like I've met men that are like, oh, I've never cried as an adult. I'm
Great.
Like, okay. You have this giant dam that is probably just fucking filled with tears that you haven't expressed.
All right.
And
do you feel that men actually are less emotional though, and that if they let themselves cry, would they still cry less than women? What do you think?
I think that feeling your emotions is part of being a healthy human being. And I think that when sadness comes, you feel it. And if you're crying all the time, it means that there's a reason why you're crying all the time.
Yeah, that's probably not healthy, is it?
Well, it's not necessarily it's not healthy. It's that there's something is going on internally that is trying to communicate with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Something is not like, or those people that we have a friend that I can think of that I've always seen him happy. He's never not happy. He's a very nice human being. He's always happy and smiling. He's known as the happy, smiley guy. But I've never seen him angry. I've never seen him cry. I'm not that close with him, but like, is that not the same thing as crying all the time? I used to be like that. But no, I would be the happy guy, the happy, nice guy, because I wanted people to like me. But on the inside, I had like this giant dam of fucking rage.
Oh, shit.
Like I did. I didn't know I did, but I did. Yeah. So I think that if you're a human being, man, woman, or whatever you are, and you maybe haven't cried as an adult, then you'd be like, okay, well, why do I not feel safe to feel those feelings? And then that's where you start. You've done therapy, you've done this kind of stuff, but people that haven't done that or even talked about their emotions at all, it's hard to even start. And that's like why I have this podcast. That's why I like having people like you on who have been through things, and you have your own path, and I have my own path, and everybody has their own path, and that's what's cool about it. But yeah, like if somebody's happy all the time or somebody's sad all the time, it's like, well, there's not a balance of all the different emotions because they're all there for a reason.
Yeah.
That's my perspective on it. It's healthy to feel your emotions.
Yes. I think it's healthy to feel a wide array of emotions.
You can't know the heights of joy until you know the depths of despair.
Exactly.
So in fact, if you do feel sadness and maybe you haven't cried as a man, as an adult, and you eventually just cry for maybe fucking 5 days straight, if that's what you need to do, how much happier, how much space that will create within you will actually create more happiness.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? That's true.
It creates more space. But
yeah,
most people are operating on this.
Yeah.
They're like this rather than. Yeah.
I have joked that my life is too peaceful right now. What I need is to hit rock bottom somehow.
No.
So I can feel joy again.
No.
I remember I actually have, for myself, have a single-versary. And it happens every year on September. I celebrate it whether or not I'm dating someone or single. I just celebrate it because it reminds me of how nice being by myself is versus being in a really stupid relationship that's unnecessary. So I think I started it after I broke up with one boyfriend. I'm like, I'm gonna have a single-versary for myself now, and then every year I just treat myself on in the month of September on a certain day. And it does bring me joy because I don't know if you've had like a really bad breakup, and you just go crashing down, but the next day after you've broken up and done the thing, and you're like, oh my God, the world, it's got colors again. The birds are singing, the Louis Armstrong song is playing, it's wonderful. So yeah, maybe I need to do that. I need to be in a toxic relationship again.
Oh my God. No. I mean, you can do whatever you want. Who the fuck am I? I'm not a people pleaser anymore. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Go for it. That's not the answer, though.
No, it's not. I'm not going to do it.
I agree with that. Like taking a day and being like, and just like being proud of yourself. Like if that's something you have every year, fuck yeah. Like who cares? Even if you're married one day, it's like do it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Just having a day to celebrate yourself, or just have a day to treat yourself.
Some people do that every day. That's why they're fat.
Oh, that's true. But relationships and friendships, they come and go. You have to live with yourself your entire life until you die. So you got to like yourself a little bit, at least.
You have to love yourself. You have to truly love yourself. And like, how do you love yourself is by realizing that there was no reason not to love yourself in the beginning. Like, and doing things that push that envelope. Like, and that's the thing about anything, building a business, becoming a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. Most people will never reach purple belt. I meet so many people that quit at blue. So many.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. What is something, we'll kind of wrap it up here because we could talk all night. What is something Okay, let's ask a couple of questions here. I want to ask a few questions to finish off.
All right.
If you could talk to yourself 10 years ago at 15,
Okay. All right.
going back to her, whatever she's dealing with at the time, maybe she just started Taekwondo, maybe whatever her parents are saying, whatever she's feeling at home, what's a few things you would say to her?
You're going to be all right. Don't kill yourself. I never attempted suicide, but I would be like, you can joke about killing yourself, but don't kill yourself, because it does get a little bit better, as trite as it is to say. Get into jujitsu sooner. Start it sooner.
Oh my
So you can
God.
get good. What else would I say? Hey.
What did she need back then?
Sorry?
What did she need at 15?
I think I needed assurance from people to tell me that it was okay to be imperfect and that there's nothing wrong with being an average nobody.
That's beautiful.
And in the vast universe there is, everybody's going to be a nobody. So if you be yourself and be your cool nobody self, you're going to be fine. You're going to be happy. You're going to be free.
And if you could have a conversation with the 35-year-old version of you, what would one question that you'd ask her?
Did you kill yourself? Probably.
If you've now made 2 jokes about killing yourself, and either in 20-year periods.
Okay, 35-year-old self. I'm tempted to ask about my success and my financial success as well, and my relationship. But really, I think I just want to ask, do you think you did cool shit? And I think I'm going to be 35 and I'm going to be able to say, yes, I did do cool shit.
You're doing cool shit and you're going to continue doing cool shit and you're going to do cool shit your entire life.
Nice. All right. Conversation over then.
Everybody, Elim Ou, follow her on Instagram, follow her journey, be part of it. Even if you're not into jiu-jitsu, she's funny as fuck. And it might even get you into jiu-jitsu because she's funny. It was a pleasure having you today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Lauren. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed this.
So did I. We'll have to do it again sometime.
All right. It was like free therapy. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Good night.